How ironic it was that we were both suffering the same unrequited love, only in different directions. You for them and me for you. I don't feel the same ache I once did. Time, as they say, heals, but it doesn't erase the unseen love I carried for you. The first time I saw you, it felt like the world stopped spinning. It wasn't the kind of moment that made the ground shake, but it was enough to make my heart skip a beat. You were standing by the window, staring out at the rain, lost in your own world. I was a stranger then, but something about you called to me. I didn't know it yet, but that moment would be the start of the hardest journey of my life, loving you without ever being loved back. At first, I brushed it off as nothing. People come and go in our lives every day, and I convinced myself that you were just another face I'd forget. But I didn't forget. Day after day, you lingered in my thoughts. I started noticing the smallest things about you. The way your eyes crinkled when you smiled, the way your laugh filled a room. You were like a puzzle I couldn't solve. And the more I tried to push you away, the deeper you embedded yourself in my heart. It wasn't long before I realized I was falling for you. Not a gentle fall, but the kind that leaves you breathless with no way to stop. I tried to reason with myself. I barely knew you. How could I feel so deeply for someone who barely knew I existed? But love doesn't play by the rules, does it? It creeps up on you slowly, wraps itself around your heart, and before you know it, you're trapped, helpless. We started talking, small conversations that meant everything to me. I clung to every word you said, each one like a lifeline to my heart. You were always kind, always warm, but I knew it was just that, kindness. You saw me as a friend, someone to pass the time with, nothing more. But oh, how I wished for more. There were nights I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, imagining what it would be like if you loved me back. I pictured us laughing together, sharing secrets under the stars, your hand in mine, as the world faded away. But those dreams always ended the same way, with the crushing realization that it was all in my head. You weren't mine. You would never be mine. Then came the day that shattered me completely. We were sitting in the park, our usual spot, when you started talking about them, the person you truly loved, the way your face lit up when you mentioned their name, the sparkle in your eyes as you talked about all the things you did together. It was like watching my heart get torn apart piece by piece. You were so happy, so blissfully unaware of the pain your words were causing. I smiled through it all, nodding, pretending I wasn't dying inside. I wanted to tell you, right then and there, that I loved you, that every smile, every laugh, every shared moment had been so much more to me than you'd ever know. But I didn't. I couldn't. What good would it do? Telling you would only make things awkward, and I wasn't ready to lose you completely. So I stayed silent, hiding my feelings behind a wall of smiles and supportive words, even as my heart screamed for something more. After that, I knew I had to pull away. Being close to you hurt too much. I started avoiding our usual spots, making excuses to miss our meetups. It wasn't because I didn't want to see you. It was because seeing you was too painful. Every time I looked at you, I was reminded of what I could never have. And the worst part, you didn't even notice. My absence didn't affect you at all because to you, I was just a friend. But to me, you were everything. The distance didn't make it easier. In fact, it made things worse. The more I tried to forget you, the more I found myself missing you. I missed your laugh, your smile, the way you made me feel like the world was a little less heavy. But I knew deep down that loving you was a battle I'd never win. You were never going to love me back, no matter how much I wished for it. One evening, months after I'd started pulling away, I saw you again. You were sitting alone on a bench, your head in your hands, looking so lost, so unlike the vibrant person I'd fallen for. My heart ached at the sight, and before I could stop myself, I was walking toward you. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice trembling with worry. You looked up, your eyes filled with a sadness I'd never seen before. "No," you whispered, barely holding it together. And in that moment, all the walls I'd built to protect myself came crashing down. It didn't matter that you didn't love me. What mattered was that you were hurting, and I couldn't stand to see you like that. You opened up to me that night, sharing your pain, your fears, your heartbreak. It wasn't about me, it was about them. The person you loved who didn't love you back. I listened, my heart breaking for you, even as it shattered for myself. How ironic it was that we were both suffering the same unrequited love, only in different directions. You for them and me for you. In that moment, I realized something that hurt more than anything I'd ever felt before. I wasn't the one who could heal your heart. I wasn't the one who could make you happy, no matter how much I loved you. I couldn't be the person you needed, and that realization crushed me in a way I can't even put into words. But I stayed by your side that night. I held you as you cried, offering you comfort, knowing that I would never be the person you cried for. My love for you was selfless, painful, and pure. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about being there for you, even when it tore me apart. I still love you. I probably always will, but I've come to accept that some love stories don't end the way we want them to. Some love stories are never told, never shared, never even known by the person who inspires them. And that's the hardest part of loving you, knowing that you'll never feel the same, knowing that you'll never know just how deeply I care. I've come to terms with it now, though the pain still lingers. I've learned to carry this love quietly, without expecting anything in return. It's a heavy burden, but it's mine, and I've accepted that. Some loves aren't meant to be reciprocated, they're just meant to be felt. I'll always remember the way you made me feel, the way you lit up my world without even trying. I'll cherish the memories of our time together, even though they were nothing more than fleeting moments to you. And though you'll never know the depth of my feelings, that's okay. I don't need you to love me back. I just need to remember that for a little while I loved you with everything I had, and maybe, just maybe, one day I'll find someone who looks at me the way I looked at you. But until then, I'll carry this love with me, a love that was never meant to be, but will always be a part of me. The hardest part of loving you was letting you go, but in letting you go, I've learned what it truly means to love. A quiet goodbye. Years have passed, but the memory of you still lingers, like a faded photograph tucked away in an old drawer. Life went on, yours, mine, and yet there's always a part of me that looks back, wondering what might have been if you had loved me the way I loved you. But those thoughts are quieter now, softer, like a distant echo. I don't feel the same ache I once did. Time, as they say, heals, but it doesn't erase. I've learned to live with the silence, the unanswered questions, the love that was never returned. It's a part of who I am now, but it no longer defines me. There are moments when I catch myself smiling at the memories, the little conversations, the laughs we shared. They no longer bring the sharp sting of heartache, but a bittersweet warmth, a reminder of what it means to care deeply for someone, even when that love isn't reciprocated. I've come to understand that not every love story is meant to have a happy ending. Some loves are quiet, private, and they live on in the hearts of those who carry them. And that's okay, because loving you, even in the shadows, shaped me in ways I never expected. I've let you go, but the part of me that loved you will always remain, tucked away in the corners of my heart. You'll never know how much you meant to me, but I know, and maybe that's enough.